Welcome to Wood and Shop. I'm Joshua Farnsworth. So when you get started in traditional woodworking, there's a lot of hand tools to buy. So what I'm trying to do is share a list of just the basic minimum set of tools that you need to get started right off the bat. And the one I'm going to be talking about right now is sharpening supplies. So it doesn't do any good to have nice hand tools unless they're sharp. So I'm not going to be talking about sharpening supplies for hand saws, because I love sharpening my own hand saws, but to start off the bat, you can always order a nice dovetail saw like this from new manufacturers and the high quality manufacturers, and they will come pre-sharpened, which will last you at least for a few months, if not up to 6 months. And you can also take your saws somewhere locally to sharpen until you've gotten used to it. And then once you have a little bit more money, you can buy the saw sharpening supplies. They're not really expensive. It's just a file and some files and some guides and everything. But I'm going to be mostly talking about the sharpening supplies required for sharpening hand plane irons and chisels, because those are what you use so often. The first thing to invest in is a way to grind the angle on these. So I use an electric grinder with a high speed or with a low speed wheel on it, aluminum oxide I believe, which keeps it from the steel from heating up too fast. You can still overheat it and cause the steel to get too brittle, but the white wheel helps a lot, and that gives a hollow grind, which puts kind of a round grind in there. So grinding is the first step. You can also use hand crank grinders. Those were made very plentifully, and you can still find those. You can still find those in a number of places, in antique shops and whatnot. But you can also use a 220 grit stone like this, like a water stone. And we'll talk about water stones later. But so the next step is after grinding or creating that angle is to hone, and that's to refine the edge and get it perfect and really sharp. So the things that I recommend to have is, first, a little honing guide like this. You can adjust it to put your chisels in down here in the bottom slot and tighten them up. Whoop. Or you can use it to put your hand plane irons here in the top slot, and then when you tighten it down, you can set it at the appropriate angle, 25 or 30 degrees or whatever, and then that will set your angle for when you get ready to hone on your stones. So some people like oil stones, some people like water stones. I find it personally easier to maintain water stones. They're fast cutting, and I recommend starting off with a 1000, 4000, and 8000 grit. Well, not just starting off with, that will last you for a long time. But the 1000 grit is where you would start off with, and then you move up to the 4000 grit and the 8000 grit stones, or the 8000 grit is called a polishing stone. You could also, I really love these, and I'll share links to it on the sharpening buying guide that I have. You can find, by the way, you can find that through the link or the button below this video. But you could also, if you really wanted to, start off with a double-sided stone. Just make sure it's from a really good manufacturer. And I prefer having the 3 different steps, but I think you can get like a 4000 and 8000 or something like that. But just make sure it goes high enough to where you can get a really polished edge. One piece of warning is to stay away from some of the cheaper ones like this. I found that as I got using it more and more, that the polishing side, as you can see there, isn't as thick as what they make it look like here. They make you think it goes all the way halfway through, but to save money they cheated us consumers and only made it really thin. So stay away from stuff like that. And the last thing, and this may seem really unimportant, but I'm putting it on the necessity list, is a diamond lapping plate. They're quite expensive, but they are really, I tried keeping my water stones flat through other methods, and it just was very difficult. So what this does is when you get it wet, you can go and flatten your stones, and washing it in between grits. And what that does is that keeps your stones flat, because if you don't have flat stones on your flat sharpening stones, then your tools are not going to be properly sharpened, and they're not going to cut right. So so I will share the link. I share the links to this and recommend other things to look for, other sharpening supplies on my website. So if I hope this has been helpful. If so, please subscribe up there on the blue button and check out how to get started in traditional woodworking at woodandshop.com.